Yes. Good evening, students. Let me welcome all of you, including students and parents, on behalf of the Unique Academy. As most of you must be aware of the fact that we started out this webinar series, keeping in mind a new initiative which we are going to start from the coming month, 24th of May, 2021, which would be a integrated batch, 1 year integrated batch. And in connection with this initiative, that we have taken a few webinars in which we are going to discuss various aspects of the civil services examination, so on and so forth. Now, on last Sunday, I hope most of you must have attended that webinar as well. And those who haven't attended that webinar, they can get to know the link of the webinar which we held on last Sunday. They can look into that webinar and the very primary discussion pertaining the nature, the scheme of the civil services examination. Now today, what I'm going to focus on, obviously the mission 2022, keeping in mind the civil services examination, obviously there is no doubt about that. But elaborately, we are going to discuss something called as the roadmap. Okay, a plan, a strategy to achieve the goal, that is the mission of entering the civil services examination. And today I'm going to take help of the PPT presentation so that it would be convenient for me, and more than me, it would be more convenient for all of you as viewers, as students, as newcomers. So let us start with the PPT itself. The first page, please. Yes. Now this is just a brief intro to today's webinar. The Unique Academy has been working in the domain of coaching and assisting students for the civil services examinations, including the All India and the central services on one hand, and the state services on the other hand. To make it very simple, examinations conducted by UPSC, civil services examinations obviously, and the other which are conducted by the State Public Service Commission, that is the MPSC. The important initiative for fresh graduates, which is taken up by the Unique Academy every year, happens to be the 1 year integrated batch, which are going to start from 24th of May 2021, that is in the next month. Obviously in both English and Marathi medium. Since last more than 1 year, we have been conducting online batches, and the coming May batches, that is English medium batch as well as Marathi medium batch, also be in online come offline mode. You all are well aware of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, and keeping in mind the difficulties which we have been facing, we immediately shifted to our e-learning department, which is well equipped to the mode which is known as the online mode. The lectures would be obviously conducted through Zoom in live format. The lectures would not be in a recorded formats. So Zoom in live format, and students can interact with teachers while listening to the live lectures to the chat box. So this is going to be a virtual live classroom teaching program. And importantly, a slot of 20-25 minutes after each lecture would be reserved for question and answers. Next PPT, please. So this is just a brief outline of the new initiative. Now let us look at, now as I stated earlier, last Sunday as well, we had organized a very first webinar which dealt with, in which I discussed the primary aspects of the UPSC examination. Now in my second point today, what I'm going to do briefly is present and very briefly explain the summary of whatever we discussed in the earlier webinar. As part of that, we began by explaining the very first point called as the primary work, in which we have certain main points and the sub points. Comprehending the nature of civil services examinations, obviously this is very important. And now I'm sure that most of you must have looked into, read about each and every stage of the civil services examination. So let me be very brief. So we have prelims for 400 marks, in which we have general studies having 100 questions for 200 marks, and the time slot which is given by UPSC is just 2 hours, 120 minutes. Then we have another paper, Civil Services Aptitude Test, CSAT, 80 questions, which have in which we have less amount of questions, 80 questions, again for 200 marks, and time slot is the same one, 120 minutes, that is the 2 hours. CSAT is qualifying in nature, always keep in mind, in which you have to secure 67, round figure 67 marks. The fourth point, which is very important, and I'm sure now that all of you must be fully aware of the nature, the salient feature nature of the civil services preliminary examination. And what is that? It is objective type of examination based on multiple choice questions, has negative marking system, and qualifying test. So objective, prelims happens to be an objective kind of examination, objective kind of test, which requires what kind of preparation, what kind of study? A very sharp, precise, and accurate kind of understanding is what expected of a candidate as far as the preparation for preliminary examination is concerned. Now, next page, please. So this is all about the preliminary examination. Now the next page, that is the mains examination, next stage of the UPSC Civil Services examination. Obviously, very important stage, carries the weightage of 1,750 marks, in which we have general studies, which contains paper 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 papers, each carrying the weightage of 250 marks, total 1,000 marks or 1,000. The second important component of civil services mains examinations happens to be optional subject. You have to choose one optional subject, and that is in turn divided into 2 papers, paper 1 and paper 2. For example, history paper 1, history paper 2, pol science 1 and 2, so on and so forth. Total marks are 500. Okay. Then comes the third component of the civil services mains examination, the essay paper, in which you have to write essays on 2 topics or 2 subjects for 125 marks each, taken together 250 marks. Then there is another interesting component which contains 2 language papers which are compulsory. One is the compulsory English and other happens to be the Indian language paper, carrying the weightage of 300 marks each. But the peculiarity of these language papers is both of them are qualifying in nature. You have to secure 25% marks, that is the 75 marks in each compulsory English on one hand, and the Indian language paper which you are supposed to select or choose on your own on the other hand. Now, the last thing is very important here, the 5th Roman number, which informs us the nature of the mains examination. This is a written examination in which candidates or a candidate has to write answers for specific marks and prescribed word limit. So students, I know I was very, very brief while explaining the nature of the mains examination, but the other things we will discuss eventually as part and parcel of the next point. But written, so mains happens to be a written test wherein you have to keep in mind the nature of the question, what is expected, okay, demand of the question, second, the word limit, and the third is the weightage carried by the given question. So understanding is no doubt important as far as the mains examination is concerned, but besides understanding, what else becomes important, rather more important sometimes, is the writing ability. So you have to put across things in a very effective manner. And I'll be speaking about that in greater detail as part and parcel of the next point. Next page, please. Now then comes the last phase, that is the personality test for 275 marks. Now, this is an oral examination in which suitability of a candidate for the civil services is cross-checked, is ascertained, is assessed by the panel members. There are 2 important components of the personality test. I'm keeping my explanation of interview very, very limited and brief. So which are those 2 components? One, you as a candidate inform the UPSC about your personal information, in which your names, places, educational background, okay, extracurricular activities, your optional, so on and so forth. So this is a very important personal information which you inform to the UPSC through 2 applications, and those applications are known as detailed application forms. So DAF 1, okay, which you fill before the mains examination, and then comes the DAF 2. It is another application form which is quite detailed and which is to be filled up by you after the mains result. Okay, so it is through these DAFs that you inform the UPSC about all important, significant, relevant personal details. And I think that happens to be one of the bases of the personality test. Based on whatever personal information you inform to the UPSC, the panel member makes it a point to ask certain questions, supplementaries, and get to know about you, that is your personality. That is one aspect. Then comes the second aspect, which is equally important, your understanding, that is understanding of a candidate of his her surrounding, the state he comes from, maybe district he comes from, the region he comes from, the state he comes from. We are part of Indian society, so we have social, we have cultural, we have political life, we have economic life. Okay, then there is international and global level. So all these aspects of surroundings are equally important, and one has to keep track of, okay, uh, major developments, let us say, which take place in all these domains or walks of life. So you would come to see or come across or confront certain questions asked by the panel members pertaining various aspects of the surroundings. Now, so this is what I had to say about the scheme of the UPSC examination, including prelims, mains, and the personality test. Now, the second thing which we discussed in previous webinar was the syllabus. So of preliminary examination as well as the mains examination, the syllabus is available. You can look into syllabus paper wise, subject wise, section wise, and there is something called as the current dimension. Okay, so paper, subject, section, and the current dimensions. So taken together, this constitutes something called as the basket of syllabus. Then the third point, analysis of previous year question papers. Now this happens to be a critically important area, which is obviously part and parcel of the initial groundwork. For prelims, you can start looking into previous year question papers from 2011, and for mains, obviously from 2013. Then comes the last primary thing, that is the reference list, which we discussed even in earlier webinar, which includes three important elements. One is the NCERT, second is at least one standard reference book. So I'll be using the word reference book, means one standard reference book for each subject, at least one, and then newspapers and journals for the current events. So NCERT, the basic reading list, followed by the standard reference list, and then comes the newspaper and journals for the current and contemporary development. So these were the initial 2 points which I wanted to inform you and explain in brief. Now next page, please. Now this was another aspect which we discussed even in earlier webinar, and I'm going to be brief. Now, if we are targeting 2022, then we are assuming that we are going to at least get a slot of 12 to 13 months. So 1 year, let us say. So 12 months of which 8 months for mains examination, because that is quite comprehensive. There are a number of GS papers plus optional 2 papers, then essay, so on and so forth. So obviously, the preparation for mains examination is going to require substantial amount of your time. So out of 12 months, you are supposed to use at least 8 months, the slot of 8 months, in order to cater to the requirement of the mains examination. Then obviously the remaining 4 to 5 months can be utilized for preliminary examination. Macro plan of 8 months for mains, obviously, as well as the micro plan of day and week is to be prepared. And I'm going to talk about that. You don't worry about that. Then the third broad point, which should be taken note of, 60 to 65% of time is to be utilized in order to deal with GS. Okay. And 30-35% of time slot is to be utilized for optional. Then obviously we have essay paper, which is a separate paper, compulsory one, and it matters a lot, which has the weightage of 250 marks. So at least if we look into the weightage enjoyed by the essay paper, so 10% of our time slot, at least I'm saying, to be utilized by, you in order to prepare for the essay paper. What happens, students, even though we know for sure what is the essay paper, what does it constitute, what kind of weightage does it enjoy, so on and so forth, quite often we end up, that is, most of the students end up neglecting the essay paper. ओके, दे टेक इट फॉर ग्रांटेड कि चलो हम कर सकते हैं, कुछ तो करेंगे, जीएस का पढ़ाई होगा, ऑप्शनल में भी हमें कुछ मिलेगा तो उसके आधार पर हम ऐसे लिखेंगे। तो वैसा नहीं होने वाला है। इफ इट कैरीज, इफ इट इज अ सेपरेट पेपर and if it is carries the equal weightage like any other paper from the scheme of mains examination, 250 marks, then it becomes essential on our part as a candidate, as an aspirant, to give due weightage, okay, as far as preparation for essay paper is concerned. Current events, obviously, yes, to begin with, we have to dedicate 2 hours slot in order to take up the reading of at least one newspaper initially. Okay, so this is what we have to say about the planning. Now, here begins a new point as far as today's webinar is concerned. So in today's webinar, we are going to take up two important points. So the third here is IAS Mission 22, a roadmap. Now, what I have done initially is to just explain. I have just explained very briefly the two keywords. One is the mission and the other happens to be the roadmap. Now, mission, as pointed out even earlier, one has to look at this preparation, that is preparation for civil services examination, as a mission. Okay, so let us look at it as a mission. Now, what does it mean? What does it indicate? It indicates a pursuit, a goal to be followed with utmost enthusiasm, okay, dedication, and like a calling. Okay, so enthusiasm is important, dedication is important. In other words, one has to prepare full time by utilizing our time, okay, energy and efforts in pursuit of the goal as a with a missionary zeal. This is very, very important. So yes, don't worry about that. Even we had organized, I was referring again and again to 18th April's webinar, and we had organized the webinar on 18th April in both mediums, in English medium as well as the Marathi medium. So dear students, you can listen to the English medium webinar, which was organized on 18th April, as well as the Marathi medium webinar. You don't worry about that. Okay. So mission, it's something which is to be followed with utmost enthusiasm, full dedication, okay, and with a missionary zeal. Okay. So complete concentration, focused efforts, dedicated efforts. That is what we understand by the mission. And therefore, we are going to look at preparation for civil services examination like a mission. Next page, please. Now the roadmap. Now this is another important key term, and just let me explain very briefly. Literally, it is a direction. Okay, it is a direction to be followed to reach the destination, one's own destination. So there is destination. So what is our destination here? Getting through civil services examination at the earliest, maybe in the very first attempt at the age of 21 years. So that is our goal, which we have preset. So that is our destination, but it requires direction. So here the direction indicates a plan or strategy to achieve the goal of getting through this examination at the earliest, maybe in the very first attempt. And this plan and strategy is what we are going to unfold, is what we are going to explain, discuss in the next main point. So it would contain a detailed plan to guide progress towards the goal. So if getting through civil services examination happens to be our goal, then it requires a path. It requires a direction. Both path is also important, and even the direction is also very, very important. Now, what I have done while discussing the roadmap, because this is the title of today's webinar, IAS Mission 22, okay, a roadmap. And what I have done for sake of convenience, मैंने क्या किया है कि उसको दो पार्ट में डिवाइड किया है. So roadmap, the first aspect of roadmap happens to be time management. Okay, the time management aspect is very, very important. And then comes the second aspect of the roadmap, that is the preparation. So let us take up the first aspect and the form of the roadmap, that is the time management. Now, as pointed out earlier, we are going to get a slot of at least 12 months to prepare for the civil services examination 2022, at least 12 months. We just discussed about that. Yes. I'll look into the medium as well. You don't worry about that. So students are asking questions through chat box. I'll be answering those questions. You don't worry about that. I'll get back to media. The initial 8 months are to be utilized for the mains. Okay, so of 12 months, 8 months are to be used for mains. I'm repeating this as part of the roadmap and time management. A daily plan of 10 to 11 hours, because I'm assuming that you would be a full-timer, you are a fresh graduate, and you are going to study for civil services examination as a full-timer. So that is what I am assuming. And keeping in mind that assumption, I have come up with a format of a daily plan of 10 to 11 hours. Now, this format can be split into two formats as far as the daily plan is concerned. First, dividing a day into three parts, and preparing GS. Say, for example, I have placed in bracket 6 hours, optional 4 hours, and reading newspaper, that is the current event, maybe for 2 hours. So 10 to 11 hour slots, sometimes we can study for 12 hours a day sometimes, but 10 to 11 hours average would be perfectly all right. So that slot of 11 hours, let us say, can be split into three parts. One, the GS, the substantial amount, maybe 5 to 6 hours. Second, optional, once you start preparation for your optional, maybe 4 hours, okay, 3 to 4 hours, and then 2 hours compulsorily for reading newspaper. So that is one format wherein we can definitely think of dividing a day into three parts: GS, optional, and the newspaper. Then there can be another format, dividing a week. So instead of dividing a day, we can think of dividing the week, in which GS 7 hours a day for 4 days. Okay, so 4 days, 7 hours a day. Okay, so GS, and then optional for the similar number of hours, that is the 7 hours a day for 2 days. Okay, and then 1 day can be reserved for revision, maybe the Sunday. So this can be another format. So instead of dividing a day, you are supposed to divide the week, and one part of the week would be GGS, the another part of week would be the optional, and the last day of week can be reserved for revision. Okay, for the purpose of revising whatever you are going to read, or you would be reading from Monday to Saturday. Okay. There are other aspects of the time management aspect of the roadmap. At least a slot of 5 hours a week, I am saying, has to be utilized for essay. Now, I'll explain how to prepare for essay. You don't worry about that. But at least in terms of time management, 5 hours in week, and that won't be much difficult for us. Making micro notes, okay, yes, would need some time, and so do include that into your time management. That is the planning. Okay, micro notes. Initially, it would consume some amount in order to prepare micro notes as well as the short notes. But once you become habitual, okay, of the practice and exercise of making micro notes, then it won't take much of your time subsequently. You don't worry about that. Revision, yes, this is going to be a critical element of the plan, the strategy to be followed by you. Daily half an hour, yes, that can be definitely done before you go to sleep. Number one. 2 hours at the end of GS slot, an optional slot in each week, because if you divide week, 4 days for GS, 2 days for optional, then from each slot of GS and slot of optional, you can think of reserving 2 hours in order to revise. And then, as I stated even earlier, one full day, that is a Sunday, can be reserved in order to revise whatever you will be reading from Monday to Saturday. So this is very, very important. And then comes the last part, reserve some time for answer writing practice. So answer writing is going to be important, and I'll be speaking about answer writing later on. You don't worry about that. Now, initially, you may not be in a position to utilize much of your time in order to write answers, because it requires preparation. Okay, so it will take maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks initially. And if whenever you are enough confident about your preparation, then you can look into the earlier question papers asked on the given chapter, and then you can go for open book test. Okay, or maybe like a test series, write few answers and get it assessed. So there is no doubt about that. But yes, some amount of time has to be kept reserved in order to write answers. Okay, Now, as I write in the beginning, refer to our new initiative, which is going to begin from 24th of May. You have at least one full month. And I have just come up with a homework in terms of input, in terms of suggestion, let us say, that is what you can do. Since our batch is going to start from 24th of May, you have full 1 month in which you can go through as a homework the following NCERTs. Now, Indian Economy 11th and 12th, Indian Constitution 11th, Constitution at Work, that's the title of the book. History, especially modern India. Geography, at least 8 to 10th. For geography, you are supposed to read NCERTs from 6th to 12th. Okay, that is the entire list. But of that list, you can just manage to get through in coming month the NCERTs of 8 to 10th of geography, and then science and tech if possible. Next page, please. But this is what you can do, and there are two important aspects or homework, let us say, two parts of homework you can take up. One reading of NCERTs of economy, constitution, and geography. If whatever we just discuss is not possible, then focus on economy, which is very, very important. Second, constitution, uska ek hi NCERT hai, and third, geography, maybe 2 or 3 NCERTs you can decide to go through them. So at least one reading. Now this may help you a lot in laying down the foundation, the initial foundation, let us say. Okay. The second thing which you can start doing, and I'm sure you must already started doing, that is reading newspapers, Hindu and Express, and to get to know new words to build a solid vocabulary. Now, vocabulary is going to be critically important as part and parcel of your writing ability, writing it effectively, okay, conveying across one's own opinions in a very effective manner. So vocabulary is going to play a very significant part. So in coming 1 month, even if you focus on while reading newspapers, let us get to know new words, look into the meaning of the word, look for the synonyms, so on and so forth. So start building vocabulary. Till the end of July, we will be focusing only on GS, because that is what the format of the teaching program which we are going to follow at the Unique Academy. So 24th May till 19th of July, almost end of July, we would be focusing on, okay, so entire month of June and July, we would be focusing on the GS. And then subsequently, the optional would be open up from 19th of July, almost the end of July, let us say. So that is one thing. Once optional is opened up, then the plan will have to be changed slightly, and we will follow a format of 4 days for GS on one hand and 3 days for optional subject on the other hand. So accordingly, you can also alter your plan of study, plan of preparation, let us say. Now, here comes the second aspect of the roadmap. So whatever we just discussed, that was the time management aspect of the roadmap. So 12 months, 8 months, then how are we going to plan, so on and so forth. Now, this is the second important aspect. Rather, I would say, as far as today's webinar is concerned, this is the core of the today's presentation, today's webinar. Roadmap preparation for the mains examination. So let me clarify it once again, that I'm going to focus on the mains examination, because we are supposed to start our preparation for civil services examination with the mains preparation. Okay, so I'm assuming that. Now, before I start my point, okay, explanation and discussion, let me take up two important questions which are quite often faced by students. One is the medium. So which medium should I choose in order to write the mains examination? Now, the very first thing, okay, the very first thing which need to be looked into and thought of by the candidates is one's own background. Now, if you have studied in the regional language medium throughout your schooling, then the college, junior college, as well as the graduation, then it is better to go for that regional language as your medium. Okay, and then there can be another case. You studied till 10th, okay, in your regional medium, okay, language medium, and then shifted to science. Say, for example, you did science 11, 12, and then did some professional course, maybe engineering, maybe medical, maybe BSc agriculture, whatever it is. Okay, after doing science. Now, since the graduation happens to be done in the stream of professional degree, you may not be well versed as far as the English language is concerned, but I think you shouldn't be worried about. So those who have done their graduation in English medium, they can definitely think of going for the English medium for UPSC means examination. Okay, that is the second one. Now the third one, the best test is start reading NCERT and have a primary idea. If you are in a position to understand the NCERT book, okay, then one should not be worried about the medium. So if you could understand NCERT, then you can definitely go for English medium, because NCERTs are in two languages. One is the English on one hand and the Hindi on the other hand. So English can be definitely cross-checked, okay. And even if initially you are going to face certain difficulties, okay, those difficulties can be addressed subsequently, because here fluent English, fluent and flowery English is not expected. Even a simple English is absolutely what seen as appropriate and the best thing. You don't worry about that. So not flowery language, not the fluent language, but a basic language, the simple language. So to be able to construct sentences, that is grammatically correct sentences, the syntax, the punctuations, clarity in one's own writing and articulation. So these are the fundamental primary expectations as far as the medium is concerned. Now, if you have done your graduation, say in Marathi, or say in Hindi medium, then it is better to go for Marathi or Hindi or any other regional language as your medium, okay, as far as the UPSC means is concerned. Now, in our limited time slot of today's webinar, this is what I told you very briefly as far as the selection of medium is concerned. But in subsequent webinars, we will take up those questions. You don't worry about that. And the second one is about selection of optional. Selection of the second question quite often asked by the students happens to be the selection of optional. Now, what I would suggest, you can take note of your educational background. And if you are thinking about choosing that subject as your optional subject, which was there for your graduation as part of your graduation program, that can certainly be done. But before settling down, okay, you look into the syllabus of the given subject as an optional. Okay, number one, you look into 3 to 4 years previous year question papers, okay, and then go for reading a primary reference book like NCERT if it is available. Okay, talk to seniors, talk to teachers, get to read about that given optional, and then once you are convinced that yes, I am very much interested in X or Y optional, I have enough material on the given optional, okay, and then you can definitely go ahead. As part and parcel of our teaching program, we subsequently arrange webinars on selection of various optionals. We introduce various optionals, whatever we offer at our institution. So faculty discusses the given optional at length, the syllabus, the question papers, the references to be read by you, and the kind of difficulties which are generally faced by students while preparing that optional. So you can attend those webinars and then you can choose your optional. So that was the second one. Now let us get back to the discussion. No. Just no, get back to the first point. Yes, thank you. Now this is the preparation, and our preparation must begin from what? So many other things, but here I have referred to PYQs, that is the previous year question papers. I did refer to that even in earlier webinar, but I am going to explain few things here. Previous year question papers. Initially, as a part of basic groundwork, which we discussed even in last webinar, as a groundwork, go through previous year question papers of GS and topics of essay from 2013. I'm talking about mains examination. So GS mains from 2013 and essay also from 2013, obviously. Okay. The second one also, so this is the first stage wherein you are supposed to go through the previous question papers as just a primary groundwork. Now, after that, also go through previous year question papers subject wise and topic wise. Okay, for the second time, I'm talking about second time, once the batch begins and certain subjects are opened up for discussion. So if from 24th of May, exclude the first 2-3 days of the demo lectures, once the program gets started and 2-3 subjects are opened up for discussion, that is a teaching, then you can make it a point to go through previous year question paper, say for example history, for example polity, so on and so forth, depending upon the class program. You can get to know about that. So you are expected to go through previous year question papers for the second time before the class, that is a teaching in class, begins, and certain subjects are opened up for discussion. And finally, also look into previous year question papers of the given chapter once you complete the same. For example, if history is opened up in the class, modern Indian history, and if the faculty completes the first chapter of modern Indian history, okay, then you must look into previous year question papers on the given topic. Okay, and this format is to be followed by you for each and every paper, for each and every subject which happens to be part and parcel of the paper, and for each and every chapter which is integral part of the given subject. So these are three initial stages I am seeing you should resort to in order to consolidate something called as understanding of the previous year question papers, and based on that, okay, the kind of preparation you are going to need in order to anticipate similar kind of questions and prepare for the anticipated questions. So this was part and parcel of the PYQs, that is the previous year question papers. Next page, please. Now, just a small point, initiating the study. NCERT, okay, standard reference book, class note, okay, the three sources, NCERT, standard reference book, and class notes are to be read simultaneously, and one after the other in a chapter-wise format. Now, I did ask you a while ago that since you have 1 month, okay, you can utilize that month just to go through certain NCERTs of economy, constitution, and maybe geography. Okay, so let us assume that you did it, and now the schedule for class has begun, and some subject or few subjects are taken up for the discussion. There you can follow this format. NCERT, standard reference book, and the class notes are to be read simultaneously, one after the other, but in a chapter-wise format. Say, for example, Indian Constitution. Okay, there are three sources. One is the NCERT Constitution at Work. Second, the Indian Polity written by Lakshmikant. And the third would be our class notes. Now, in NCERT, the historical background of making of Constitution of India would be first chapter. And you would get to see the similar kind of chapter even in Lakshmikant or from Lakshmikant, the historical background. And then our class note also, you may get to see that first chapter. So read that chapter from NCERT, then from the Lakshmikant, and then from the class note. So this is how you are supposed to follow the order, one after the other. But NCERT, standard reference book, and class note, these are the three sources to be read simultaneously, but in a chapter-wise sequencing format. While after listening to classroom teaching and two readings, this is very important, listening to classroom teaching and two readings of the sources, NCERT, standard reference, and class notes. I'm not saying the entire NCERT. I'm not saying the entire reference book. I'm not saying the complete class note. What I'm saying, the chapter. Okay, then you should start making micro notes or the short notes. So the first precondition for making micro notes or short notes is what? Listen to the classroom discussion and then go for what? Reading the same stuff for twice. Then you can definitely think of making micro notes or short notes. Before that, please and please do not think of making micro notes. Otherwise, you would end up reproducing the original source with so many, notes in so many pages. So that should not happen. Next page, please. Now the NCERT. and these aspects are going to be very, very important, the NCERTs. So as I stated earlier, concepts are very important. And in order to consolidate these concepts so that we can understand the given subject appropriately, NCERT as a textbook is must for the civil services examination. Read NCERT of selected subjects, chapter wise. I'm saying it again and again, before and after the classroom teaching. That is one thing. Keep in mind that now you would be reading NCERTs. At this stage, you would be reading NCERTs for mains perspective. That is from mains perspective for mains examination. In other words, you will have to read it, that is read those NCERTs for prelims, but late or maybe January onwards, where the reading would be very, very intensive in the sense that you will have to try to find out a bit or bits from every sentence, including concepts, facts, analysis, if any. Okay. Yes, I'll answer that. So as far as NCERT reading is concerned, you will have to read NCERT both for prelims on one hand and the mains on the other hand. And reading NCERT for prelims is very different, and reading NCERT from the mains perspective is different. And each and every faculty at the Unique Academy assist you in understanding the two different ways in which we are supposed to read the same NCERT for prelims on one hand and the mains on the other hand. For mains now, let us look into that. At this stage, the conceptual part of each subject, be it history, be it geography, be it science and technology, economy, constitution, international relations, Indian society, ethics, whatever it is, initially, whatever NCERT we are going to read for all these subjects, we will be focusing on the conceptual part. Okay, so conceptual part of each subject has to be consolidated through NCERTs and also through the classroom teaching. So the given faculty would be discussing all the basic concepts from each and every subject chapter wise. And another source, important source for laying down a solid conceptual foundation, obviously, is NCERT. Okay, in Constitution of India, we have what is meant by parliamentary democracy, what is meant by federalism, what is meant by secularism. Now in geography, you have physical geography and so many concepts there. Okay, number of concepts. Same is the case of economy. Same is the case of history. In every subject we have certain concepts. So NCERT at this stage from the mains perspective is to be read for the purpose of understanding and making sense of the conceptual part. Okay, factual part you will be reading that, no doubt about that, but we will not invest our energy in consolidating the fact and information from the NCERT right now, not at all. We will focus on consolidating concepts from NCERT right now. Okay, conceptual part. I'm again and again repeating it. Okay, next page, please. Now, once you consolidate NCERT, that is follow the timetable, the second thing in the reference is going to be reference book. So I just refer to M. Lakshmikant's Indian Polity. Okay, then Ramesh Singh Indian Economy. Then Bipan Chandra's India Struggle for Independence for Modern Indian History, India After Independence by the same author, or Post-Independent India, so on and so forth. Okay, so for each subject from GS, we will have to refer one reference book. So that is called as the standard reference book. Okay, read carefully and comprehensively the standard reference books for consolidating the given subject. So we are substantially going to rely on, say, for example, Lakshmikant's Indian Polity, or for that matter, the given reference book for each and every subject. Let us read it carefully and comprehensively. So when I say comprehensively, then what does it mean? The factual part, absolutely yes. The information and data. So this is going to be one aspect of the standard reference book. The factual part, the information and data have to be processed. So we will have to read that, we will have to process that by, now what is mean by process? Underline that and then highlight that. Now, anyway, you are going to listen to the classroom discussion in which you will come to know as to what part of the given subject is very, very important, including the conceptual part and then the factual part. So concepts which you are going to get to know from the NCERTs, consolidate the conceptual part from the NCERTs. Once you do that, you are going to shift to the standard reference book as if, let us say, but we'll be doing this in a chapter wise format. Okay, so one chapter from the NCERT and then the same chapter from the standard reference book, wherein we will come across lot of facts, lot of information, lot of data, which we are going to process very carefully by underlying that and by highlighting that. So what is to be underlined and what is to be processed, you would definitely get to know after listening to the classroom discussion. The third one, the explanation and analysis of each component of syllabus. Let me repeat it. Explanation and analysis of each component of syllabus from reference book has to be read and thought through. So we are going to read the explanation part and the analysis part. So facts, yes, we are going to come across a lot of facts. There is no doubt about that. But besides factual part, okay, besides factual part, we are going to come across explanation. Now, let me just cite out one example. If you read the chapter on federalism from, say, NCERT on one hand and Lakshmikant, that is a standard book, on the other hand, what are you going to get to know from those sources? So what is mean by federalism? What are the features of federalism? Okay, this would be the conceptual part. Now, the explanatory and analytical part would be, now Indian federalism is that kind of model which is known for strong center. Okay, which is known for strong center. More and more powers are given to the central government. So we have a dominant center in Indian federalism. So the obvious question would be, why did Constitution of India prefer federalism with a strong center? So if we have a model of strong center, then why did we prefer that? Why did Indian Constitution provide for that? That is an obvious question, and you need to know answer to this question. And maybe from NCERT you will get to know few things, but from Lakshmikant you will have to understand and make sense of. Okay, so this is how whatever explanation. Now the second aspect of federalism would be, we have a whole factual part of Indian federalism, that is the center-state relationship. So legislative relationship, administrative relationship, and then the financial relationship. And there are a number of constitutional provisions. Okay, so we will be reading those factual details, constitutional provisions. Point number one. Point number two, now in what way these constitutional provisions in the form of legislative, executive, and financial relationship been implemented? Okay, so then you would get to know from Lakshmikant and importantly our class material that the working of center-state relationship. Okay, the working of center-state relationship was roughly, I'm saying this, smooth from 1950 till 1966. But if you look into the journey of Indian federalism, especially the center-state relationship from 1967 till roughly say 1995-96, then you would get to know number of conflicts, okay, and areas of conflicts between center-state relationship. Now, why so? Why is that in one phase we have smooth center-state relationship, but in another phase we get to see conflicts after conflicts in the center-state relationship? So here comes the part of analysis. So to what extent the constitutional provisions are responsible? To what extent the politics of the day is responsible? And as part of that, to what extent the party system is responsible for that? Is it that somewhere the mixed economic model was responsible for something, or the liberalization policy which we adopted in 1991 is also responsible for some kind of relationship between center and state? So this is how, students, we are going to get to know lot of explanatory part as well as the analytical part in both the standard reference book on one hand and the class notes which would be provided on the other hand. And we will have to be very, very careful, very careful while understanding the explanation and analytical part of each and every component. Facts, data, information, okay, has to be read carefully. There is no doubt about that. But we can read it again and again. We can take recourse to multiple readings and consolidate that. But as far as the concepts are concerned, as far as the explanatory part is concerned, as far as the analytical part is concerned, we have to make sure that I am in a position to understand that, okay, and I have no doubt whatsoever as far as the understanding of that part is concerned. We cannot postpone that. We cannot postpone that. We can postpone the consolidation of factual part, but we cannot postpone the conceptual part and the analytical part. So this is what you are going to do while focusing on and getting through or going through the reference book. Try to separate, this is very important, try to separate the factual part by processing it from each source so that you can plan revision in a better manner. So in every, say for example, in economy, in history, in geography, you are going to come across a lot of factual part. So since it is factual, it is obviously going to require multiple readings, many readings. Okay, so we can set it apart since it is a factual part, and we can focus on that as and when exam is around the corner. Okay, so this is how we can follow a strategy with utmost amount of clarity. Next page, please. Yes. Now again, this is a very interesting peculiarity of reference books. Always keep in mind that the reference book has to be read even for the preliminary examination. So NCERT, we are going to read NCERT both for mains as well as prelims. So same is the case with the standard reference book. But while reading the same stuff, that is the same reference book for prelims at the level of prelims, as part of preparing for the prelims, our reading has to be intensive, very intense, very micro. Okay, in the sense also focusing on every piece of fact, every piece of information, and every piece of data. Because in prelims, and I'm sure you must have gone through the earlier question papers, I had suggested you a very nice book written by an IFS officer, Saurabh Kumar, and the title of the book happens to be Prelim Simplified, which contains the previous year question papers of UPSC from 2011 to 2020. And it contains explanation of the answers. Okay, and also very important tips and inputs in order to approach the similar kind of questions, if at all those questions are asked by the UPSC. So this is a very important aspect as far as the reading reference book for the preliminary examination. So fact, information, and data. So that would be on our radar when we start reading the standard reference book for the preliminary examination. But as of now, we will be reading standard reference book primarily for the mains examination. So while reading it from mains point of view, the concepts, again, I'm repeating it, the explanation and analytical part has to be consolidated, while the factual informative part will have to be carefully read and set aside. So it has to be read. I'm not saying that let us not read the factual and informative part. I'm not saying, please listen to this carefully. So my kind request would be, do read the factual and informative part, but let us not invest our energy right now in consolidating that. Just read it, try to understand, and set it aside for multiple revisions, because that is some part which is going to require multiple revision. Now take note of concepts. Now, once I understand what is meant by democracy, once I understand what is meant by secularism, once I understand what is meant by federalism, I need not revise that. So conceptual part, even the analytical part, even the explanatory part is like theory. Okay, so theory means either we understand it or face a lot of difficulties in understanding that. And once we understand the theoretical part, which includes concepts, which includes explanation, which includes the analytical part. So you have to make sure that you are going to understand every bit and piece of the concept and the explanatory analytical part. And once you understand, it does not require constant reading, multiple readings or revisiting. But if you turn to the factual part, the informative part, the nature of fact, information, and data is such that it is going to require multiple readings. Okay, therefore, let me read that point once again. So while reading the standard reference book from mains point of view, the concepts, the explanation and analytical part has to be consolidated, while the factual informative part will have to be carefully read at this time, but set aside for multiple revisions later on, especially at the level of prelims. Okay, so reading Lakshmikant for mains is a different thing, and reading Lakshmikant from the prelims perspective is different thing. While reading Lakshmikant from the prelims point of view, our reading will have to be very, very intensive. We will look into every provision of constitution. Okay, and anyway, we will be looking into the previous year question papers and get to know what kind of questions are to be asked on Constitution of India. So that input will definitely help us in reading Lakshmikant, or for that matter, any other reference book for prelims. To develop this ability, whatever we just discussed, to develop this ability, you need to be very attentive at every stage. Okay, that is while looking into PYQs, that is a previous year question papers. So what kind of questions are asked in prelims on Constitution of India, and what kind of questions are asked on Constitution of India in mains examination. Okay, listen to classroom discussion, okay, the teaching, and reading all sources that is yourself. You are going to read that. So while reading every step, be careful. What is conceptual part? What is factual part? Listen to classroom discussion very carefully, and even be very attentive while reading previous year question papers. So this would definitely help you in making better sense of as how to read a reference book for prelims on one hand and the mains on the other hand. Now the current and contemporary events and development. So this is going to be another important aspect and component of the mains examination. That is a preparation for the mains examination. Just a second. Now, you can get a sense of this partly from the previous year question papers. So again and again, previous year questions, we come back to previous year question papers, referring to previous year question paper. Let us look at PYQs as a key, as the best guide. Okay, so one is the syllabus, the other aspect of the guide, form of guide, happens to be the PYQs. So if you look into the previous year question papers of prelims on one hand and the mains on the other hand, then you would definitely be better placed to make sense of the current events, their significance, and the kind of current events which are asked in prelims as well as the mains examination. Initially, a slot of 2 hours, just slot of 2 hours would be moderate enough. I'm not saying more than sufficient, but moderate enough. Critical minimum expectation, enough to read the newspaper. So there is a spell check, read newspaper. Okay. Monthly roundup of current events by our faculty, Jawad Kazi and Sivaji Kale sir, is another source. So one would be the newspaper, and the another would be the monthly roundup of maybe 100 pages or 110 pages. Okay. And anyway, as far as our timetable is concerned, what we have done is we have kept Sunday reserved for revision on one hand and the monthly roundup on the other hand. So you would get at least 4 Sundays, and those 4 Sundays would be sufficient in order to go through the monthly roundup of about 100 pages. Okay. So monthly roundup of current events would be another source. So one would be the newspaper. So whatever part of newspaper you would be in a position to complete in a span of 2 hours a day. So that would be fine. You don't worry about. Anyway, whatever you are going to miss from the newspapers can be compensated, or sorry, can be prepared by relying on and going through the monthly roundup. Now there comes a third source. Most importantly, our institute prepare quality and updated material for mains as part of the crash course. We do organize every year a crash course and a rigorous mains test series after the preliminary examination. And that crash course material is quite elaborate. We prepare material on Indian polity, Indian foreign policy, Indian economy, okay. Then current events from science and technology, environment, internal security, so on and so forth. So that current material constitute another important part, which is also made available for regular news students. So newspaper, second the monthly roundup, and third the crash course current events material. Next page, please. Now, how should we approach current events? Okay, now this is what we are going to discuss in this PPT. Now, once you go ahead in your preparation in major parts of GS, so you started reading Constitution of India and you completed 4 or 5 chapters, then geography, initial 4 or 5 important chapters, Indian society, science and technology, so on and so forth. So as you proceed further in your preparation, uh, you would be well aware of the concepts, then the analytical part, then the explanatory part, so on and so forth. You would be better placed to study the current events effectively. Now, if I say today that let me reserve a slot of 5 hours in order to prepare for current events, if current events is that important, it won't help me much because I am not aware of the Constitution of India. I am not aware of Indian economy. I am not aware of geography either of India or world. So therefore, let us wait for a few months. But when I say let us wait for, I'm not saying that let us not read newspaper. Rather, what I'm saying, let us limit our study of current events for only 2 hours a day, plus 4 Sundays, the roundup and the crash material. So we are limiting our current preparation to 2 hours a day, roughly speaking. But as I am explaining right now, as you go ahead, proceed further and complete chapters from the GS subjects, you would be better placed to study this effectively. That is the current part effectively. So you will have to wait in that sense a bit. While studying current event, do not emphasize, this is very important, the factual and informative events right in the beginning. Otherwise, what would happen if you start reading newspaper, you would get to know so many news and so many factual details of the news. Let us not focus on right now, okay, on that factual part. You just go through that, try to make sense of that, okay, but do focus on the analytical part and broader issues. Analytical part and the broader issues. Now, what does that indicate? Look at the next point. The various opinions. Okay, so analytical part, when we say analysis, when we say issues, what does it mean? The various opinions, okay, the perspectives and the positions. Now we are all going through the second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic, okay, and it seems that somewhere something problematic has taken place. We at civil society are responsible for that. Okay, our state governments are to some extent responsible for that, and substantially our central government is also responsible for that. Okay, so what went wrong? And if you open up any daily, you would come to see various opinions about as to what went wrong as far as dealing the ongoing pandemic is concerned. So let us make it a point to go through various opinions, various perspectives and positions. So we will try to make sense of, because if we have one issue, it can be any issue. That same issue can be looked at from diverse perspectives. We will get to see different kinds of, and at times, exactly antithetical opinions and positions about the given issue. Okay, so we will try to understand that, we'll try to make sense of that. The factual part can be taken care of simultaneously. So we are not going to neglect factual part, but we are not going to invest much of our energy right in the beginning. So we will just pay attention to the factual part. We will read it carefully, try to make sense of, but initially more focused, more emphasis would be given on something called as the analytical part, getting to know various opinions, getting to know how the same issue, one issue can be seen from different perspectives, uh, different positions expressed by scholars, by editorials, by editors, by columnists, so on and so forth. Okay, so the factual part can be taken care of simultaneously, but maybe once you are comfortable with the analytical part. So what I would advise the newcomers, that in initial phase of maybe 3 to 4 months, you should be focusing on consolidating the analytical, the opinion, the perspective, and the positional part of the current events. Okay, next page, please. Yes. Now this is again going to be very important. Abilities to be developed. What kind of abilities, what kind of skills are important here? Now, comprehending ability has to be broadened well by going beyond literal meaning of anything. So while reading NCERT, while reading standard reference book, while reading newspaper, while listening to classroom discussion, please be attentive, be very, very careful. Then and then only you would be better placed to develop this comprehending ability. Now, if we read something, we can get to know the literal meaning of that something, whatever we are reading. But literal meaning alone is not important. There is something beyond the literal meaning. There is something called as implied meaning, reading between the lines. What does the given part or stuff indicate? What are the implications of that? What are the repercussions of that? What is the position of the given writer while making some point? So going beyond the literal meaning and to be able to make sense of the implications of the implied meaning of the repercussions is what consists of something called as the comprehending ability. So if you start reading NCERT carefully, listen to classroom discussions carefully, and be attentive while reading newspapers, okay, definitely you would be better placed to fulfill this ability, achieve this ability and fulfill this requirement. Aim at developing critical thinking ability. This is going to be very, very important. Critical thinking ability by inculcating a habit of looking into various dimensions and especially the limiting dimension of the issue. Now, in 2020, in GS2, a very interesting question was asked. And let me cite out that example of that question. From GS2, I'm referring to one question which was asked this year. It was on judicial legislation. Okay, judicial legislation is antithetical to the separation of scheme of power. Scheme of separation of power. Let me repeat the question. Judicial legislation is antithetical to or detrimental to the scheme of separation of power in Constitution of India. This is the sentence. Now, in the light of the sentence, justify the need of rising number of PIL requesting the court to give or issue guidelines for executive functioning. Now, if you look at this kind of question, which is about judicial legislation, we have to understand first of all what is meant by judicial legislation, as if judiciary making law. Otherwise, we know it for sure that laws are enacted by the parliament. But can judiciary make law through decisions? Yes, it can in one sense of the term. And then the question also refers to PIL, public interest litigation. Okay, we will have to understand what is meant by PIL. And then the interrelationship, judicial legislation, okay, judgments of the judiciary of the court on one hand, and in what way it is detrimental to the scheme of separation of power in the Constitution of India on the other hand. And then how it takes us to the increasing number of PIL requesting the court to issue order or guidelines to the executive authorities. Now, these kinds of questions require critical thinking ability. Okay, and I can go on citing out number of questions. You can check out the earlier question papers. Even you can take up 2020 question papers, look into GS 1, 2, 3, 4, including essay, and you will get to know how critical thinking ability is going to be very, very important. Now, let me cite out one interesting example. Now, what is the question? Has caste in 2020, has caste lost its relevance in understanding the multicultural Indian society? Now, there are two things. One is the caste and the other is the multicultural nature of the Indian society. So has caste lost relevance in understanding the multicultural nature of the Indian society? Elaborate your answer with illustration. Now, so many things and abilities are going to be very, very important in this kind of question. Now, let me take up one more interesting question. Discuss the formation of new states in recent times. Discuss the formation of new states in recent times and bring out whether it is beneficial or not to the economy of India. So one is the new states, creating new states. And the last new state was created in 2014. Okay, formally speaking, that is the Telangana. So the question is about new states and its reference is to what? Whether it is beneficial or not to the Indian economy. Now, in such questions, that is answering such questions, we are going to require the comprehending ability, comprehending the given issue, here the creation of new states from all its aspects, and critical thinking ability. This is very, very important one. Now, let me just cite out one last example here. Now, Rajya Sabha, the question was on Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha has been transformed from a useless Stephanie tire to the most useful supporting organ in the past few years. So there is a reference to Rajya Sabha, and a transformation as if has taken place in regard with Rajya Sabha. And what is that transformation? कोई बदलाव हुआ है. क्या बदलाव है वो? Useless Stephanie tire, from useless Stephanie tire to useful supporting organ in last few decades. Highlight the factors responsible for that and areas in which this could be visible. Now, in geography, in GS1, there was a question on increasing number of floods in thousands of cities of India, including, interestingly, the smart cities such as Hyderabad and Pune. And then the question also asked students to suggest remediable measures. So students, I just refer to few examples, very few examples from polity, that is a paper 2, then one from geography, one from history, so on and so forth. Okay. And if we go through these kinds of previous year question papers, we would come to know as to what kind of abilities are required here. So let us get back to the discussion. Reading editorials would help you a lot in developing the critical thinking ability. Keep an eye on important data statistics pertaining various sectors of our life, and importantly, those topics mentioned in syllabus. So data and statistics is going to be very important even at the level of mains. Generate and maintain a data sheet. Okay, and we help students once we get started with our classroom teaching program. You shouldn't be worried about that. But on your own, if you get a statistics from newspaper, from NCERT, from the standard book, from the class note, then you should make it a point to generate and maintain a data sheet on your own. That is what required. An answer should be reflective of the current events. And in simple words, whenever possible, a pertinent current happening need to be brought in answer. There was a very interesting question in 2020, which was asked in connection with pandemic. There were 3 to 4 questions regarding pandemic, that is the COVID-19 pandemic this year. Okay, the January examination. And one interesting question was, do you think that COVID-19 pandemic in India has increased the class inequalities and poverty? Now look at the question. So COVID-19 pandemic on one hand, and its impact on class inequalities in India and the poverty in India. Now, if these kinds of questions are asked, here, there is no doubt facts are going to be important. Some data has to be brought in. Okay, it is definitely from the current event, and importantly, you will have to analyze that. So facts are important, data is important, some pertinent examples are going to be important, so on and so forth. An answer should be reflective of current events. In simple words, wherever it is possible, bring in pertinent current event or dimension to the issue. Okay, now let us look into the next one. Now look for good practices. This is going to be very important. Experiments, models, and innovative initiatives. While reading about them, focus on the factors responsible for the same. So students, in essay paper, in ethics paper, And for that matter, in every GS paper, okay, examples, good practices, models, and innovations. Some in the domain of industry, something in some IT company, something in the domain of administration. Okay, the field, the sphere, the domain of life doesn't matter. Okay, in whichever domain you get to see some experiment or good practice or model or innovation, please do read about that. And while reading that, let us not approach that in a factual and informative manner. So what was that experiment all about? So all essential facts will have to be, okay, understood. There is no doubt about that. But you have to be a bit analytical while bringing in examples, that is understanding examples and bringing them in your answer. And what is that analytical part? Now, which factors, okay, played significant role in facilitating the given experiment? असल में हुआ क्या है? कौन से factors responsible थे? कौन से actors responsible थे? But factors is the appropriate word. So was it the local initiative? Was it the initiative on part of the administration? Was it because of innovative use of the ITC technology? So it can be anything. It can be anything. So whatever factor you come to see about as a responsible factor in facilitating a given model, please pay attention to those factors so that you can refer to that experiment, refer to that model, and even you can use that while suggesting suitable remedies. Okay, and that is going to play a significant part while reading newspaper. Please do take care of this aspect. Besides understanding an issue, problem, and challenge, do make it a point to look at for remedies, solutions, and reforms. I just refer to one question from geography GS1, which was asked in 2020 examinations. That question was on urban floods. Okay, urban floods is a recurring phenomena, okay, including smart cities like Hyderabad and Pune. This was the question asked this year. Okay, and in this question, what was asked? Why this is happening? Why urban floods on one hand, and the second, suggest what remedies? Okay, workable remedies. So suggestions were to be given by you. So understanding of practices and developing that prescriptive mind, bend of mind, developing that, evolving that, okay, is going to help you a lot. So developing a prescriptive mind is essential. But while searching remedies, while prescribing solutions, you should take care of one thing. And what is that? Let us not be utopian and let the solution be grounded in reality. In other words, let the solution be pragmatic and practical. Otherwise, what would happen? हम तो कहने के लिए कुछ भी कहेंगे, लेकिन अगर वो यूटोपियन है, which is very difficult to bring into practice, then वो किस काम का होगा? तो इसीलिए you have to take care of one thing, that whatever you are going to suggest in the form of a remedy, it should be reflective of the ground reality on one hand. What is the feasibility? What is the practicality of the given thing? Okay, and then the next important ability, which is going to acquire critical importance, the effective writing ability. It has to be developed, and efforts need to be undertaken right from the beginning, right from day one, I would say. Okay, even while listening to my discussion, you should be always thinking about the writing skill and its, what to say, significance. Next page, please. Now, if writing ability is very important, writing skill is important. There is no doubt about that. But how should one go about developing that, acquiring that, and developing that? And here are certain very primary tips. Okay, for that, enhance vocabulary. Read every source, NCERT, standard book, class note from language perspective. Now, what we usually do is, while reading any stuff, any source, any reference material, we pay attention inevitably to the content part. So what is the content? What is the argument? We tend to pay attention to that. This is a natural human tendency. There is no doubt about that. But since language is going to be very important, the writing ability is going to be important, and language is going to be one important aspect of the writing ability. Let us make it a point to read every source right from beginning from the language perspective. So what kind of language is used, what words are used, what keywords are used, what terms are used, okay, the format of the sentence, the syntax, the punctuation, so on and so forth. Improvise your linguistic articulation and work on presentation skill. Okay, so when we say presentation skill, para format, pointed format, flow chart, pie chart, tabular format, so on and so forth. So there are a number of aspects of the presentation skill. We can look into that. So vocabulary, reading every source from the language perspective, improvising or improving one's own language articulation, and working on presentation skill becomes essential. Actual answer writing practice. So one would be reading and paying attention to the language part and the writing part. So that is one thing. But the another aspect of developing and acquiring that skill, acquiring and developing that skill happens to be actual writing practice. So as part of actual writing practice, that would help you a lot. There is no doubt about that. Write only few answers initially. Okay, don't go after writing what more and more answers. Not at all. That is not required initially. You stick to writing only few answers. As you complete a chapter, make it a point to write few answers. Okay, and get it assessed very, very critically. See, once you write answers, submit to the faculty, get it assessed, look into the critical feedback. Look into the critical feedback. That is, otherwise what happens generally, so I wrote an answer, I get it assessed, and I just looked into how many marks did I obtain. So out of, let us say 10, if I got 4 marks, if I got 5 marks, I would be more than satisfied. But this kind of approach is not going to help you. Okay, so look at every feedback. Is the feedback about the language part, articulation part, the punctuation part, the flow part of your answer? If the feedback is about content, then what of the content? Is it about the analytical part, the opinions, the perspective, or is it about the facts? Is it about the data? Is it about the right examples? So if you get some feedback, whatever feedback, make it a point to understand that feedback as it is. Okay, whatever aspect, you should look into that. And then keep a track record of the initial and the later feedback. So say, for example, if you write in month of June, few answers and get it assessed with some feedback, and then you would keep writing few answers, subsequently submit to the faculty and get it assessed. So whatever kind of feedback you might get in mid-June, okay, and then mid-July, you should compare between the two. And then get into whether the subsequent answer writing, that is the answers written by you, say in July and August, let us say, whether it is reflective of any improvement. So इसमें improvement हो रहा है या नहीं हो रहा है, उसका track record आपको रखना पड़ेगा. So actual writing practice will help you a lot, but keep a track record of the initial and the later feedback and ascertain that. वो पक्का कीजिए, okay, वो ascertain कीजिए कि answers are improving subsequently. Now, one of our former students, Ansar Sheikh, most of you must be knowing about him. He had written a book, Me, Ami and UPSC, that is about his experiences. What kind of plan did he follow? What kind of strategy did he follow? The book is obviously in Marathi. What we have done, we have included few answers written by Ansar. Okay, GS 1, 2, 3, 4, then essay, then even the political science. Political science was his optional. You just look into the kind of feedback we have given and the kind of improvement he has done subsequently. Okay, so keeping track record of the feedback becomes very, very important. Aim at bringing something new eventually. Now, innovativeness is important. Innovations are going to be important. Bringing new to the table is also going to be important, but that can be done subsequently, not right in the beginning. You will have to wait for some time. You will have to put in a lot of hard work in the same thing. Then only you would be better placed to bring in something new to the table. Okay, next page, please. Yes. So now we are at the fag end of our presentation. This I'm going to be very, very brief here, the unique way. What are we going to offer you? In what way we are going to assist you as part and parcel of the program to be taken up by our institute. The quality teaching with elaborate explanation of conceptual and analytical part of the syllabus. Yes, we have got an elaborate what teaching program, and we do focus on explanation of the conceptual and analytical part of the syllabus. Okay, because that happens to be a critically important aspect of each and every subject, conceptual part and the analytical part. Second one, provision of comprehensive, quality and updated study material in the form of class notes. That happens to be the second important part of our program. Current event notes for both prelims and mains, no doubt, I did refer to that. Special modules on essay along with quality material on important topics of essay. Okay, we do prepare a separate material for essay as well. Elaborate teaching program for optional subjects. We do offer optionals, and you can get to know about those optionals, the list of optionals which we teach in our academy. At our academy, you can get to know about that. So that is one part of whatever we do and offer as part and parcel of the teaching program. Next page, please. Yes, here. The sessions on improving writing and communication skill. Yes, we do organize a separate session as part of the classroom teaching program on all subjects. Okay, history, geography, polity, international relations, okay, science and technology, economy, ethics, okay, and essay, obviously. And same applies to optional subject also. So dedicated modules and sessions are organized in order to cater to the writing and the communication skill, but important in the writing skill. Test series for mains with rigorous assessment and critical feedback happens to be one of the important aspect of the program. Test series for prelims as well, no doubt about that. But assessment becomes important at the level of mains, okay, in respect with the mains test series. Okay, interaction with our former students and toppers, that is occasionally organized. Okay, our toppers do visit our institute, they make it a point to interact with the student. Mock interview sessions for students who get through mains, and the mock sessions are currently going on. You must be aware that the UPSC interview schedule was about to begin from 27th of April, but that has been postponed for this year, okay, because of the COVID ongoing pandemic. We know it for sure. But yes, we do organize mock interview sessions, which obviously includes mock interviews per se, and the other parts of the personality test guidance program, sessions by expert, then the study material. Here also study material plays a very significant part. Personal guidance, keeping in mind the requirements of each student. Okay, we encourage student to meet faculty, interact with faculty, share whatever difficulties and issues she might face or may be facing. So that is absolutely encouraged. And special emphasis is given on assisting students to inculcate and develop appropriate kind of approach and attitude for this examination. So these are all parts and this is what part and parcel of the teaching program which we offer at the Unique Academy. This is it, students. From my side, I thank you all of you. Stay safe, stay healthy. Good night.